So we bought some L-seat covers for our Mercedes, R107 Mercedes. They arrived pretty quick in a couple of weeks' time, but when they arrived, they had the wrong headrests and they didn't fit. They were cut incorrectly. So we sent a small video of the problem to L-seats, and they said we will replace them. And sure enough, they've sent a replacement set of seat covers. We did have to send our other ones back, which cost us some money. But let's open these up and see what these are like. So I'm just carefully going to open this in case we need to use the packaging. So they're pretty well packaged. I remember when I sent them back, struggling to get them into such a small package. So the moment of truth. First of all, have they sent any headrests? They have sent red headrests. Are they the right headrests? Oh, actually, that's the centre rest. Yeah, the headrests are correct this time. So the problem of the last seats was, well, I can see these ones are completely different. The last seats did not have this section here where the rod comes in. Basically, this is folded over and then hog-ringed to the springs, and also this section here didn't exist with these flaps, because these flaps should be glued around. So these are certainly looking an awful lot better than the other ones, and I can tell that they're much smaller than the other ones as well here. So these may indeed fit. So if they had sent these the first time around, I still would have struggled to realise that they were leather, because obviously only these bits here are leather, not the side bits. However, there you go. £285. Because when you do buy seats from L-Seat, I think you'd have to specify the age of your car, because in the email or the packaging, I can't remember which it was, they said 1973 to 1979 seat covers, and after that time the seats changed slightly with much bigger bolsters both here and on the backs, and I think that's why some of the templates that people have are so much bigger. There's not too much to say about actually slipping the seat covers on. If you haven't got any polythene, you can use the polythene that the covers came in to help the seat base slip in there. You've just got to make sure that the corners are on properly, like so. These are going to be pulled down tight and then glued and clamped on. And you can see this all fits nicely into the channels around here. This corner here just needs to be pulled on. Now, if you do ever find that because you've got maybe a new seat base or something and these are really tight, you can warm this vinyl with a hairdryer just to help it stretch. But do be careful when you're pulling this. Don't pull by the bits close to the seams here, because it is easy to tear those seams. So we've just put a little bit of trim fix on both sides here and here, and we'll just stretch that over and glue that underneath there. You'll also need a couple of hog clips to keep that on. Last thing we have to do is hog ring this to these springs. So we're going to hog ring it here and here. Make sure this is nice and tight like that.
that is the seat base done. It's got a slight crease in here where these were folded in postage, but those will come out as the temperature changes. These are actually quite a good fit. Well, I said that's the seat base done, but we do have to actually cut some holes in here, which we'll do off camera because I've done a very detailed video on fitting seat covers before in terms of cutting all the holes. The only thing you have to remember is get yourself a sharp scalpel. Don't try and do it with a Stanley knife or anything. But these seat covers, if they're sent to the right seat covers first time round for £285, I don't think you could really complain. I was just about to trim the back of this seat when I realised something strange about this seat. I just stripped down the other seat that came with this project car, and the other seat does not have these two headrest rails. And when I was stripping down this seat, I noticed these headrest rails here are held on by Phillips screws. Normally they're riveted here. Now, the other thing I've only just noticed is there should be a silver spring here which corresponds to this hole on the seat back for releasing the headrest, but it doesn't exist on here. So it makes me wonder whether these seats were ever from an SL and maybe whether SL seats share the same base or back as other cars. The other thing that is odd is if you look at this date here on this seat here, 16th of February 1972. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the SLs were not actually made until 1973. Obviously, it's quite possible that they manufactured bits before the cars were actually released, but that would make this probably one of the earliest seat bases and seat backs in existence, I would have thought. So on this car, this rail is just held in with a bolt at one end, and this just goes in a hole and then slides down at the other end. But maybe what they've done, I mean, I don't know enough about how these seats are made up on other cars, but maybe what they've done is they've taken two of these and put those on this seat instead of taking one of these and one with the actual spring release here. So what we'll have to do is go down to the garage and take this rail off the parts car, the one with the spring on it. Another problem is that these headrest rails don't actually fit down this channel. They're blocked by whatever that is. I can't imagine too many people would ever have this issue, but if your headrest does ever get stuck and you can't get it out or can't get it in, this is how the whole system works, and this is the reason why it might get stuck. First of all, there's a funnel up here which is hinged like so, and then the rail passes through down to this little plastic piece here, and this little plastic piece slips over the rail and then it encounters this ring here. Now, in our particular case, that ring was so, I don't know whether it was corroded in place or what the issue was, but basically this didn't want to pass through that ring, so we took it out. We took the ring out. The ring basically comes out the top there, just pushes out the top, and ever since then this thing has worked. So to get this back in, once again, this is actually hinged. The metal bit goes at the bottom. It is held in place by a big metal clip, this thing here. That bit of the clip needs to thread underneath, and then these two are held in firmly in place by that. And then there's a couple of these one-way clips here that slide through there to hold the whole thing in place. The way this goes back together, it's much easiest if you put this bit in first, flat, like so, and then the spring in and wedge a screwdriver under there, like so, and then just we'll just take all of this off and glue a new piece of whatever that material is on there. Before you can fit the back cover, you've got to attach the two plastic grommets. These push in through the top, and then these will clip underneath, so that those holes and those bits of plastic need to be in place before you fit the back cover. Your seats may be cut slightly different, but what you've got to try and avoid is these edges going over a seam like this. Now these are very close to that seam, these edges, but I don't want them crossing over like that. I'm going to have them here, so I'm going to just lay this down flat like that and then draw around, which I've done on both sides here and here, and you should just about be able to feel the indentation of where those should be. They're a bit slightly further back than they are forward, the holes, but as I say, the important thing is when you draw the holes or cut the holes that you don't end up with this going over the seam like that. So we have invested in a brand new scalpel, and because I've done this a couple of times before, I'm just going to get on and do it. You might want to measure 3 times before you make your first cut, but as I say, we've done this a few times before. I'm cutting this in situ, and if you're lucky or skillful, you will find that's exactly over the hole. Now this vinyl is quite forgiving, so you can potentially cut these holes a little bit small and it will stretch round here. We'll just test fit this one last time. That fits perfectly. So now we'll just take the covers off, and then we'll put these clips on the other side to keep those in place, and then clip everything together. Just make sure that the foam is pushed all the way down to the end, and then once you're happy, these clips have got a profile. The high end goes towards your face and the other end goes down, and then just very carefully push them down evenly all the way around without breaking the plastic. I'm going to start off tucking the seat under there, and then we will just fold this over, double fold it over and get it in those channels. The top bits are dead easy to do, and the bottom bits less so. To get that to sit down that channel, I was just using the back of this scalpel, but unfortunately the scalpel I was using was so sharp that it went straight through the lid and stabbed me in the hand, which is a bit annoying. So a better method is probably just to wait till your wife is out and use one of the kitchen utensils to do that. Those covers went on without any problem at all, significantly better than the oversized covers that I fitted to the last car. These creases here are just where these things were folded during packaging. They'll come out over time. I haven't put the new headrests on. These are the right headrests. That's just the one from the parts car. I suspect when I take that to pieces, it's going to need derusting and possibly even a new headrest cushion. All the peripheral parts have been derusted and restored. I'm not going to attach them in this video because I've done a complete video on that already, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. It just remains now for my beautiful assistant to test the seat and tell me if it's comfortable.
Well, I think the seat is really comfortable, and I think you did a great job.
Oh, thanks, Grace. So loyal. Cheers. So we bought our seat covers from these guys here, lseat.com. And as you can see, $349. They sell a whole range of seat covers. You need to make sure you get the right year SL seat covers. They changed, I think, after 79. But I'm not sure I could actually go as far as recommend this company, because my experience with them, my initial experience, was terrible. They sent completely the wrong things. And of course, as soon as I did that and I looked up online what other people had to say about the company, you'll find there's a whole host of complaints and bad experiences. But having said all of that, you know, I had to send the seat covers back at my own expense, but they did actually send through another set relatively quickly, and they fitted pretty much perfectly. So I cannot complain. And certainly if they'd have sent me a set of leather seat covers, well, sort of leather seat covers, for £285, $349, I would not have been disappointed. It's worth bearing in mind that these seat covers, the quality is nothing like a genuine Mercedes seat covers. It is worth reminding yourself of what a genuine Mercedes seat actually looks like. These are the leather seats that came off the other 280 SL that we did. You can see how thick that padding is compared to the seats here, which is just a very thin piece of sponge. However, get what you pay for. I'm not complaining. But what we're going to do is we're going to use some of these thick bits of padding to redo the strips on the back of here. As I mentioned, I've done a very detailed video on how to put the seats back together, cutting the holes and putting all the peripheral bits on, which is this video here. And the end of that video shows where to get hog ring pliers from, glue and all that kind of stuff.